Hey everyone, I'm Ruby with Valhalla Organics, and I'm getting ready to rehouse our bees from those small nucleus boxes into the woodenware boxes that will be their permanent homes. So excited for you to join us on this journey, and yeah, we'll just see how it goes today.
I took a time-lapse video of installing the first several hives, and then in a moment you'll get a look at a slowed down process in real time of what it looks like. But basically what I'm doing is opening up each nucleus hive and briefly inspecting the frames, looking for food stores and brood in all stages, meaning eggs and larvae and capped brood. Those are signs of a healthy hive. I'm also looking out for the queen, but I actually didn't see any of them today, which is not a big deal. As long as you see young eggs, you can be sure that there is, in fact, a queen in the hive and everything is fine. Here you can see the process in real time of opening up one of these nucleus hives and getting them settled in their permanent woodenware homes. So what I'm doing here is just basically getting everything set up and put in the places where I need it to be during this process. Then I'm going to crack open the hive that the bees are going to be going into. And then I'm going to very carefully open up this nucleus box. I was expecting that these bees might be a little bit cranky because it was the final installation of the day. So there's been a lot of vibrations. I've been moving back and forth. There's obviously a lot of bees flying around. And so I was ready for these bees to display a lot of defensive behavior. But they didn't. They were very calm and very well-tempered. So here I'm trying to choose out the best frame that's going to be the easiest to get out of the hive. Bees actually glue together pretty much everything inside their home with a special substance called propolis. So it can make it really difficult to get those frames out of the hive and into the new box. So here I'm just checking to see what the status is on this frame. Now on the outside of your frames, you're typically going to find food stores, but in a big packed nucleus that's in a tiny little box like this, you actually can often see brood, that's baby bees, in the cells on the outer frames. So I took an extra long look just in case the queen might have been on that outside frame. One of the most important things that we do as beekeepers is to keep a record. So I actually have a special binder where I have notes on every single hive, and when I can, I have notes on what is on every single frame in every single hive. So one of the ways to start out successfully with bees is to make sure that we're writing down everything. And when I'm moving bees from 5 different nucleus hives into 5 different woodenware boxes, it can be hard to remember which frame on which box went where, which was full of honey, which was full of brood, which one maybe wasn't full of much at all, and we want to take a look at it later. So basically, I take each frame at a time, take a good look at what's on it, make a note of what's on it, and then move it into the new box. One thing that's really important is to make sure that the orientation and the order that the hive frames are in the nucleus box is the same in the woodenware box. The reason for that is that this is the bee's home, and they've set it up the way that they want it to be, the way that it's going to be most effective for them to raise their brood, to store their food, to take care of their queen, and to flourish. So you wouldn't like it very much if someone came and took your roof off and moved your living room to where your bedroom was and moved your bathroom to where maybe your kitchen used to be. So we want to make sure that when we move frames from hive to hive that we're not mixing them up too much and that we're not separating the brood especially. It's very important for bees to keep their brood warm. And so if you separate those frames that have baby bees that have the brood on them, it makes it a lot more difficult for the adult bees to keep that cluster around the babies and keep them warm. I'm about to move the very last frame into the new box, and so I'm squaring off the frames that I've moved already to make sure that they are properly spaced within the hive and that there's enough room for this last frame that I'll move that's all covered in bees. as well as the brand new frames that we're going to give the bees so that they can expand and build more beeswax. It's really important to get that bee space just exactly right because bees have a certain measurement that they like to have in terms of space between their combs. If the space that you give them is too big, they build a bunch of weird and wonky comb just to fill up that space. So here I'm just checking this final frame. I never found the queen in this hive, and that's okay because I found a lot of tiny little eggs. So if you see eggs in your beehive, then you know you have a healthy laying queen. So I'm just snugging up these frames, like I said, and making sure that the bee space is correct and that there's enough space on either side of those frames to add the brand new frames. We do feed sugar syrup in the early spring, especially when we're starting with nucleus hives, because it really helps them to be able to build up that wax. It takes about 8 pounds of honey for the bees to be able to make 1 pound of wax. Because beeswax is so expensive and difficult for the bees themselves to make, we always try to make it easier by feeding that sugar syrup in the springtime and providing frames that already have drawn comb on them when we can. Unfortunately, we lost all of our filled frames when we lost our apiary to fire in 2021. So we're hoping that these bees will help us build up our stock of drawn comb frames again. So I'm just making some notes about exactly where I put the different frames in the hive and where I found eggs or any other special notes about this particular hive. The last thing that I'm going to do before I close up the new woodenware hive is to shake the bees out into the hive. And this might look a little violent, it might look a little crazy, but it is actually really helpful because that little nuke box is going to smell like home to those bees. And we want to make sure that as many of them as possible make it from the nuke box into the woodenware box. And so it can be very helpful to just shake them in there. Then I'm putting the inner cover and the roof back on the top of this hive. And I'm being very careful because I managed to do all of these installations without squishing a single bee. Just a couple of days after installing the hives, they are looking really happy, really healthy. You can see a good flow of traffic coming in and out of the front doors of each of the hives.
Thanks so much for watching. It's awesome to see the apiary all set up, the bees settled into their new home. We've got a little water feeder over here and a sugar syrup feeder. And then this right here is the box that powers the electric fence. You might even be able to hear that clicking in the background. That tells us the fence is on, so we're not gonna touch it. The bees are doing really well after their first inspection, and I can't wait to share their whole lives with you. We have names for these hives and we're going to be announcing those soon. So we can't wait for you to continue along this journey with us. We hope you'll subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss one of these updates. Thanks again for watching.